Gas war, and it's heating up, and it's not the Middle East, and it's not about oil. The new battle lines are being drawn in Europe over natural gas. Last night, Russia, one of the world's leading suppliers of natural gas, cut supplies to Europe by 2/3. This is according to Ukrainian officials. Now, Russia's natural gas company Gazprom had no comment, but the European Union is investigating as there is fear that many European families will face freezing conditions this winter with no gas. Now, natural gas production seems like the Wild West compared to the business-like approach of OPEC. But like the oil cartel, there is a natural gas cartel, or one in the works. The Gas Exporting Countries Forum, or GECF. With how that group fits in and Russia's muscle on natural gas markets, I'm joined by Andrew Gordon. He's a commodities analyst and the investment director at Investors Daily Edge. Anna Raff is the assistant managing editor at Dow Jones Newswire's Energy. And on the phone is Cornelia Meyer, an independent energy analyst who has worked at BP and has also worked in Russia. Good morning to the three of you. Thank you guys so much for being here. Andrew, let me first start off with you. I mentioned the GECF, or the Gas Exporting Countries Forum. It is very much different from the cartel that is known as OPEC, but they're trying to move somewhat in that direction. Tell me a little bit about this organization.
Sure. The organization isn't new, but they're trying to formalize it. They have a charter. They've come out with statements such as this is Russia talking, that the era of cheap gas is coming to an end, that nothing is off limits. On the other hand, and this is also from Russia, they've said that this is not a cartel. And they say that for good reason. This is a very different market than the oil market. There's no global benchmark on a major exchange. Gas is traded under long-term contracts. Most of the Russian gas is operating under contracts that extend to 2030 and more. And it's a regional trade. This gas is traded regionally via pipeline. So there's a lot of limitations for a cartel-like organization like OPEC to exercise price control over the market. Nonetheless, Russia and some other countries, Venezuela, Iran, Algeria, Qatar, they're looking to at least increase their price power and to do more. They really think that gas is underpriced. It's a very clean fuel. It generates half the CO2 emissions as coal-fired plants. So they think gas has a future. It's underpriced. It's undervalued. They think that this forum can help push the price of gas up through coordinated policies.
All right, Cornelia, you have worked, as we mentioned, with BP, and you've been in Russia. Explain to people in layman's terms what is happening this time around, because we had a similar circumstance happen between Russia, Ukraine, and Europe just a couple of years ago. So what is happening there?
Well, I think that is something that you will see sporadically come up over at winter time. And Russia essentially objects to the low gas price that the Ukraine is paying, and that lots of the former Comecon countries are paying, and they think they should be paying market price. And when you look at where the gas has been turned off or semi-turned off, this is mainly the former sort of Comecon nations, which pay lower gas prices, and Gazprom is a heavily indebted company that most of the money that they receive, the receivables that they get from Western Europe, from OMV, the Austrian gas company, oil company, and from RWE, their German counterpart, goes directly into New York waterfall accounts to service the debt. That was to service the debt that they underwrote in the mid-1990s.
So I imagine, Anna, that what we're talking about here is we're talking about legacy issues. We're talking about pipelines that draw through Russia, through Ukraine, to much of Europe. And it's part of this story here is the transporting countries where the pipelines go through, in this situation Ukraine, who's arguing about prices. But the ramifications, I imagine, for Europe are tremendous because they get the vast amount of their natural gas from the likes of Russia.
Well, yes, they would be tremendous, but when you look at it in the end, it will always go to the West and to the high-priced consumers. They will receive the gas. And look at another dimension. Gazprom is A, heavily indebted, and B, the existing gas fields are running out. So they need to actually get into the Tium and Pechora further east area and get access to the gas fields there, and that will be costing in the billions. So they cannot afford to not deliver gas to the guys who pay.
Anna, let me ask you this question. How powerful is Russia and Putin right now in this conversation about this GECF and whether or not it could become a gas cartel?
Well, definitely, even though they're very explicit in that, that's not something they want to do. They don't want to behave like OPEC, which, by and large is trying to fix the oil price, or at least some range of oil price on the market. But something to drive home, especially with gas, which isn't true with oil, is that all these players are very interdependent. Russia is dependent on Ukraine to get the gas to Europe. Europe is dependent on Russia for the gas. Russia depends on that gas being sold at a relatively high price because there's so much of the country's revenue depends on it. So obviously Putin, Russia, Medvedev, the current president, Russia is the largest gas producer in the world, so it does have power from that. But because the nature of the gas markets, they're so intertwined. They're not like oil. You can't just like offload and onload. There's these pipeline connectors, and basically you're hostage to where the pipeline goes and who your customers are, which isn't really the same as oil, where you can like offload and onload and send anywhere you would like.
At the end of the day, though, we're hostage to the countries who control the supply, and that has been the big issue with oil, and once again a big issue with gas, although fortunately for us it's not affecting us in the U.S. right now. All right, Anna.
Not yet.
Not yet, exactly. Oh my goodness, this is what T. Boone Pickens talks about all the time. All right, Anna, thank you very much. Cornelia and Andrew as well. Thank you all three.